Currently. That's the first comment I see right off the bat. Welcome in. This was not a planned show. I got the email that public beta is out for X18. Got that email today. And as is a tradition for me, I will always jump on and show you the latest and greatest right off the bat as quick as I can. So here's something I'll say about this. I'm still in an NDA. We're not supposed to discuss problems that we had in previous versions or ongoing problems. Give them the opportunity to work that out, get everybody excited about what's working and what's working really well, and there's some really cool things we're going to go over. I do want to mention that I have not been using the beta. I am on the early beta team, but I've my own personal computer problem is what we'll call it, kept me from using the beta. That has been fixed. And so now I get to use it. I did very little in X18, but the things that I did do are very, very exciting to me. And I'm going to share those first to just get you excited about the potential of what X18 can do. And so let's start with that. Once I go through a couple things that I'm super excited about showing you, then I'm going to go through the list coming straight from the PDF that is X18's new features. And you can find that when you go download the public beta. If you have current SSA, that means that you get to go into your digital locker and download this, as far as I know. I know that Chief Architect, I think, is still open right now. So if you have any problems, give them a call. And so if you want to download this right now and go check it out, go do it. It's going to be cool. You can kind of play along with me and maybe, backtrack through this video. But I'm going to start with just showing some of my favorite things about X18. I am really ecstatic about a few things. This is probably the most excited I've been about a version release in a very long time because, well, for one, they gave me something I've requested for 6 or 7 years, and it's a big game changer for me. And for two, they gave me another thing that I've requested for many years, and it's a big game changer for me. So let me start sharing my screen so we can see some of this stuff. And I just want to point out that on the screen, this is a special show. So I did kind of port in the PDF that is the new features. And so I will be scrolling through these new features and kind of going over them one by one. You can kind of, hopefully you got a big screen and you can kind of see what's going on down here in this bottom window. And so I'll start with the first thing I'm super excited about. Notice that Chief Architect's not up on my screen at all. If you're in managed mode, you may not know this unless you watched my earlier YouTube today, early this morning, about Template Tuesdays. But if you're in managed mode, your files are being cached to a temp directory, and that is so that Chief Architect loads a little bit faster. But we were still having a few other speed-related issues that could, if you feel like they could be optimized and things move a little faster. Here's the thing I am most excited about for X18. It is fast. It is fast. We are back to a software that feels like it is optimized. It is extremely fast. So I can't tell you how exciting that part is to me. Oops, I just fixed the chat window. That should be up now. I just want you to notice how fast that was to load up. I'm going to close X18 down. That's something I'm really fearful about doing in X17 because it takes so long. Let me boot up X18 again, and it's going to load those pre-cache files. It's loading my massive 13 gigabyte library file. It's loading all of my project files and its textures. Chief Architect did a census of every user. I take up the most data out of any user, and it's not even close. So just to show you this is extremely fast. And it's easily my favorite thing about being in the software. I can't wait till the people that I work with and train with move over to X18 because the things like deleting files, importing files, opening files, it's all so fast. Now, the first time you boot up X18, you're going to notice something. Chief Architect is going to basically create thumbnails of your user library. So if you're like me and you've got 7,000 objects in your library, what's going to happen is they're going to go through and not cache per se, but they're going to create a thumbnail of what's happening in your library. And that just makes it all load faster so that it doesn't have to do an active load of things like materials and material previews, so that it loads faster. So your library will be faster as well. Here's another thing. I'm going to get into the project browser. This is something that takes a really, really long time in X17. This is an old version of my Pro Plan template. I want to get rid of it. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to hit the delete key, right? And just, here we go, delete. And we're going to see, bam, it's gone. It's gone. And that's so fast. I would have to wait sometimes up to 4 minutes for that thing to go away. And I'm just sitting here paused, just waiting. And that is just so much faster. In fact, I don't really think that I need any of these projects on here. And so I'm just going to hit the delete key and see what happens with all of these projects. I wouldn't dare do that in X17 because I'd have to go walk away for 45 minutes. Look at that. It's gone. It's that fast. That just makes me ecstatic. Makes me ecstatic. Here's the other thing that's really, really fast, and I haven't been able to pinpoint what exactly it is and what it's coming from and how they did it. But let me open up my template plan real quick, or better yet, I only open up my template plan because it usually takes a long time to duplicate. Let me make a copy instead. I'm going to make a copy. Man, is that so much faster. And so now let me open up my template and I'm going to start drawing. And I'll tell you what, the millisecond lag here, I think they shaved a good 350 milliseconds at times on just drawing and placing objects. I did ask the developers about this. They said nothing's really changed, but I know my stuff and I know how fast my stuff executes, and it is not this quick. It is not this quick in X17. So just drawing walls, drawing things in, and my stuff utilizes a ton of macros. I've got hundreds of, well, not hundreds, tens of thousands of lines of code in my templates to do a lot of things for me. And so I can tell this is faster. I can keep drawing and I'm not going to reach that kind of lag point that I used to reach. So this is just super exciting. I've been saying for a while now, if you gave us nothing else but optimization, I'd be ecstatic. And here I am. If this was all we got from X18, I'd be ecstatic. It's so much faster. Are they planning on integrating any AI features I see in the comment section? I do not believe so. So far, there's nothing new in terms of AI that we didn't already have. We did have AI in X17. We have AI in X18. It's just not an addressable AI that you can do anything with. They're using neural networks and DLSS for rendering. They're doing a lot of stuff in the rendering engine that utilizes AI. So there's stuff like that. There's AMD's Fidelity FX, which they call something else. If you pull a 3D view, we just pull a 3D view real quick, and you'll notice even the 3D views, bam, they're so snappy. They pop up so quick. Everything moves so quickly. So in these views, if you go edit the active view and we target this super resolution, this is AI based neural networks. It's running on, I think this is running on your CPU. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, so there is some AI stuff, but it's the same AI stuff that was in there before. Now we're not getting any kind of like, automated library search stuff that's parsing common search terms from AI or some kind of automated active layer display option, stuff like that. You're certainly not going to get any like post-rendering stuff, but it's still not that big of a deal to go screenshot this, export it into your favorite AI and utilize whatever you want and whatever tokens you need. So I don't have any problem with them not using AI in the rendering engine. I mean, I think the rendering engine looks beautiful. I mean, this is something I could send a client and not have any problem sending them this. This looks great. Okay, so that was kind of my my main feature I was very ecstatic about, and that you might not even see in the features list, is this thing just flies. It really is a joy to work in. So that's something. Okay. The next thing that was something I've been asking for years and years is layer-based fill styles. All right. When we go look at Aldo, and I'm going to just break this out and make this kind of expand this and everything, we have a whole new row here, and it's fill. And so you can double click this, and it's going to bring up a layer fill style where you can set transparency, you can set a pattern, hatch, etc. If you check to modify all layer sets, you're changing that fill style for that layer across the whole thing. And then what this does is you can have anything that has a fill follow the layer's fill style. Why is that impactful? That means if you change layer sets, you have the potential of changing the fill style from one view to the next. All right. How does that make sense? What does that do? What does that even mean? I'll give you an example of this. Right now, this wall type is following just the layer color, all right? But if I were to go into this wall type and go define this, and here's something that's new in X18. I know this has got to be in the list somewhere. Before, you could not multi-select these things and edit such things as maybe the line color, etc., the fill style, etc. Now you can multiple select, and we get this button here, edit layer button. And so I can choose that edit layer button and do group edits. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the fill style from this solid fill that's following the layer color, and there's a new input in here. Above no pattern is use the layer to drive the fill style. So I just changed it so that this wall type is following the layer's fill style. All right. Now I'm also going to select all these middle layers here, and I'm going to edit that layer, and I'm going to change that line style. In this case, I'm going to just make it a blank wall line style just to showcase this. All right. And so this would be my standard for how I like to show my walls. So now this is being driven from the layer set itself. If I were to go switch to some other layer set, say like my electrical plan view, that fill style is going to be white in this case. If I'm going to go switch to roofs only, etc. But here's what's pretty cool is I can go through, hit this, pick up where Aldo is, which I seem to have lost the Aldo window. What did I do to it? Uh-oh. I lost my Aldo. There it is. And so this is on this layer. I can change this fill style to like a hatch angle, something like this. Angle hatch 2, grid angle, something like that. Bam. And there we go. It's changing this. And it's on a layer set by layer set basis. If I switch to my floor plan view, there we go. It's back to that solid fill. What's particularly cool about this is you might be able to come and pull like some kind of a cross-section view like so, all right? And in this cross-section view, do that auto detail, and let's see, that auto detail should have given us the option to let the layer dictate that fill style. So there we go. This actually changed here. So my wall's exterior existing has this hatch in it. And so for this view, it's not showing that solid gray color. Instead, it's using this angle hatch that I had set up. All right, so that is pretty dang cool. Is you can get walls that look solid through and through, and then pull an elevation and get something that looks more like a component-based wall when you just do the auto detail function. All right, so really giving us just a lot more control. There's a bunch of different reasons I like this particular feature, and I've been asking for it for a really long time. And for one, you can show a roof plan where we're showing a different fill style on this layer set versus, and it would be very easy for me to just select this check that fill style. We can see at the bottom of the screen, actually my face is hiding it, but there's a way to define that fill style, change that transparency even more, you know, so that something that's overlapping, if we've got one over the other, it shows it very clearly. The overhang area, I might change that fill style as well, you know, keep this down in terms of its transparency so that it shows more clearly, maybe make it darker, etc. And so this can show on this view in this way. That might be seem a little bit over the top. Can't seem to get that overhang area to show the way I want to, but that's okay. Might not be a fill style, that might be layer based. There we go. And so there would be my roof plan versus my framing roof plan, where I could set this fill style up to be something different, right? I could set this up to be almost clear if I wanted to. And that would be separate from that other view. Now keep in mind, I have to go set up my auto build roofs to follow that fill style. So here's that fill style panel. Instead of solid, I want to use layer. And so that's going to commit those changes. There we go. So now it's very clear. We've just got a clear fill style here. We go back over to our roof plan view, and it's going to have, you know, that different layer color here, where a little less transparent. There we go. So you can just set up different displays and different views this way. It's going to take a little bit of work for you to set it up for yourself the way that you want it, but this is going to end up being a really cool way of illustrating things differently for different scopes of work, you know, if that makes any sense. I'm going to periodically pause and look at the chat. This is going to be a long session. I know we're going to be at least a couple hours to go over all this stuff here. So you can come in, chime in whenever you want. All right, what do we have going on here? Steve Singer says, you have me excited. Heck yeah, I am very excited. I haven't even shown you some of the cool stuff that's coming in. Do we get real siding? I'm going to show you that. That is in the list. Yes, we do. Let's see. What we really want to know is, can Renee finally build an entire house from cabinets now? Yeah, thanks. Okay. There has been some changes to cabinets that are really nice changes that improve some of my systems. So that is going to be a big one, is that we have, we'll get to that. That's in the list. And then any more support using the Leica measures? Just bought the X3. I don't know. I don't know if you're lacking support. And I didn't see anything about it in the change logs. I'm not sure. Is Chief forcing their project manager yet? It has been a nightmare for me converting multiple projects to CA project and working with consultants. Still looking for a tutorial for my workflow. John, if you go check out my YouTube channel, the live that I did this morning was all about the project management mode. And I would suggest you watching that. It's an hour, and I'm showing you all the most common things that people are asking and solutions, and why it's just so much better to use. So there's a whole hour-long show that was published today, and I only leave that up for 24 hours. So please go give that a look. To answer that question, I doubt that they're pushing that yet or forcing it. Yeah, you still have the ability to uncheck use Chief Architect Project Management. All right. All right, let's get into some of the features. So you should see the features on my screen. First one is import Chief as-built files. Like I said, I was not prepared for this. I was told public beta was going to be at the end of July. So I was not ahead of the game for this. I typically am. So I don't have an as-built file to check. I do have an iPad, so I can use that new as-built app, mobile application. You need an iPad or an iPhone. That's a Pro model that has LiDAR, and it's very similar to the Twindo, previously known as Canvas app, where they're utilizing LiDAR, but it's integrating inside of the room planner application that they had already developed. So you use your LiDAR, you scan your room, and then you have the ability to make adjustments on the fly on your iPad right in the room planner app for control measurements, etc. And then what that does is there is an import dialog box. I'm not entirely sure where that is. I'm guessing that it's in the import menu. Import Chief as-built file. You should be able to see that on my screen now. So with that, this just brings it in right like it would be a plan file. And so that part's really, really nice. There's no conversion process that you would have to do with Twindo where you rely on their technicians to create your model file. So that's just going to do walls, windows, and doors. I will publish a video in the future highlighting that in particular. I'll go over that in as much detail as possible. I'm talking so fast because I'm excited, so I'm going to try to slow down. Here's what I'll say about the rest of what you're going to see in this video is I have very little experience with this version of the software. So you're going to see me kind of struggle through some things as I'm figuring out these features as well. So you're going to just see how I take in what these features are and what I think they might be. So bear with me on some of this stuff. Pin to the top of the list. This is new to me. Use the pin option to save documents in a project folders and files to the top of the list in the project browser. All right, so previously we could pin a project to the top of our project browser. All right, and that's what I have here is my Pro Plan X17. That's pinned. Oh boy, did I delete the wrong one? No, I didn't. Haha, cool. And so here we go. We know we can pin a project. This new feature is pinning a plan file or folder. So we should just see, yes, we see a pin menu here. So easy to just pin that in, okay? So that's kind of clever. Maybe I can pin this folder to the top. There we go. Yep. Easy to unpin, pin. Okay. That's that one. Copy active layers. So copy active layer set when duplicating save plan view. We'll highlight it here. We'll highlight what I'm looking at. Okay. Copy active layer set when duplicating save plan view. Okay. So I've got a plan view here. It's framing floor plan, top of the screen. That's this right here. Let me say, I don't think save active view as is going to work. Oh, it is. Look at this. Framing floor plan 2, and we want to copy the layer set. So it's duplicating the layer set. Copy is the wrong word, I believe. Duplicating the layer set to framing floor 2. So now we have a duplicate layer set that we can mess up separate from the framing floor plan layer set, and it won't affect that one view. That's really nice because that causes a lot of confusion for people when they're trying to create a new save plan view and they're not also creating a new layer set, and then they're expecting that the two might be a different view, and then they go back to the old save plan view that they had copied from, and it looks the same as their new save plan view because they didn't create a new layer set and they messed around with those layers. So that's a really convenient feature. I like that. So we can clearly do it from the Save As menu. I'm assuming that we can do it from the project browser as well. So if I expand this into my plan views, I'm just going to go into my print views, and notice this is just how I organize my plan template, is that I should be able to duplicate floor plan, and same dialog box pops up. So that's very nice. I like that. Okay, now we are on control fill style by layer. I went over that. I could probably burn an entire hour showing you all the different ways that you can utilize this, because there's quite a bit. In fact, I even think that if I were to go test this real quick, I'm gonna throw a toilet in here. I'm just gonna try something. Is if we go edit the CAD block for this, or let's see, let's close the CAD block. What if we go open the symbol, and the fill style, yes, is by layer. Is by layer. This is really cool. This is really cool. Keep in mind the line style comes from something separate. So we can see that the fixtures interior fill style, I could easily set this to be, white, right? And so it's going to follow that fill style. Okay. Now, if I were to switch to my print view and excuse me, my print floor plan view. And you see it's using a different layer fill. I can make this pink if I wanted to. I mean, you can imagine all the different ways you can utilize this. If I go back to that working plan view, it's a different fill color. So really probably easy to do some things like plumbing diagrams and make your fixtures pop off the screen if you need to in particular specific trade documents. That fill style setup is just going to make just a huge difference. And I haven't fully wrapped my head around all the different setups that I want to do. I know that I can do some crazy stuff with macros with fill styles based on the fill styles angle, and basically index lists where I'm drawing information just by changing the fill style. So that one's just, there's a reason I've been asking for it for years. I can't wait to show you what I end up doing with it. But I know that in my other template plan, I had really built it out to show different layer fills, for framing views, to really make framing pop off the screen, to really make things stand out and easy to understand. I'll just show you that real quick. I know that if I draw a little building here, and I'll just throw a little window in here. Something like this. That if I build all the framing and I don't want to show those layers and I switch to some of my framing views, I just know that I set these up to be really clear to me. You see, I'm changing the fill style on the header for this view. I'm changing the fill style on all those framing members. They're following layer settings. I go down in my plates and my framing and my footings, all change their fill style, all based on layers, okay? This makes a huge difference. I've switched to my framing roof plan. I'm showing my joists in a different fill color than I was on the previous page. I'm showing my rafters in a different fill style to really try to make these pop off the screen. All right. If I wanted to show my, let's see, I believe I was going to show my wall framing. Let's just do that real quick. Framing wall. And they have their own fill style. Right? And this is all just to try to make these documents look a little bit more clear, where they don't have to be that same fill color on every page. So that's really just a big one. Is there fill style for rooms? There's fill style for anything that you want. So yes, rooms have always had fill style. If we go open up this room and we check the fill style and it's use layer, you can set this up so that your bathroom has, a particular fill style, etc. So same thing. If you're showing floor surfaces, in this case, you're going to see that. I think you're going to see that fill style. Or rooms. Let's see. Rooms is what's going to show that fill style in this case. So yeah, on a view by view basis. Let's see, I'm going to open up this room and I want to say use layer, and this layer is on rooms. And so for this room, I could say no fill, right? I could say no fill on that view, go back to the floor plan view, and there's going to be a fill. So that's great for graphical floor overview. Really, it's going to make a huge difference, especially for anybody that's developing stock plans. So that one's just such a huge one. Does the fill work in elevation mode as well? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay. I want to showcase one more thing that I'm super excited about, especially for my particular templates, because I'm utilizing it with taking on some macros, but and I'm sure it's in this list. So when we see it, I'll address it. But I'm going to just draw in a straight interior wall here, and I'm just going to show you. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to call this, oh, what happened here? We'll just call this bathroom, okay? And I'm going to show that this is living room. We got brand new labels, okay? Room labels. And let's see. And we also got an alignment setting. So I didn't have this set to centered yet. but you're going to see that we have a whole new dialog box for labels. I could seriously burn an entire show on the label field for rooms. What's really, really cool about this is you're going to see me draw on another wall here, is that look how it auto centers. Not only that, but if you're a little bit clever with your macros and you start to size things down, you can create some rule sets that will automatically change the way that this displays. And so when I get this small enough, look at this, it's changing the way that the text displays. If I get it a little bit smaller and it's just moving on its own, I don't have to move the label. It's changing the way that text displays. All of a sudden I've truncated this label and abbreviated the label down to the point where I'm not even going to show the ceiling height, and I'm even truncating the room label. We have formatting ability for all of this. This just makes things so much easier. That's just that's something I'm so excited. Oh, you know what? You can't see it because I wasn't showing the preview. Here we go. We'll do it on this side. You'll see as I shrink this down, it changes the way that it's abbreviating my ceiling height macro. It's going to change the way it abbreviates that room up to the point where it's just going to make that ceiling height just disappear and abbreviate that room down to nothing. And it's just based on the room size. That's just really cool. Really, really cool. And something we have in our edit toolbar that you've never seen before is, hey, we get to we don't want to display this label in this view. Just in this view. We can go back to this floor plan and say, hey, we want to display that label in this view. And we might even want to edit that label and move it around and shift it and rotate it, what have you. So, very cool. Let's see what we got going on here. Can we down X18 and start using it? Steve, yes. It's if your SSA is current, you should be able to see it in your locker. Otherwise, give them a call. You got a little bit of time to still call them up today if you have any problems with that. Yep. All right. So here we go. Here's another huge one that, I mean, me and Joe Carrick pretty much high-fived when we heard about this. I was in Coeur d'Alene. Joe Carrick, we call him the godfather of Ruby. He's someone I love hanging out with. He does a lot of scripting. We go back and forth and tell each other our little trade secrets and help each other out. But client and designer information, we've been asking about this for a really long time. This is just going to make the documentation side of things really, really easy, which is you've got some additional fields for project now that you can access. On top of that, I want you to see this is, let me click this add button. This is information I am adding that can be accessed throughout the plan. Okay. Notice that it's in italics. All right. This is user added information. What am I going to do? I'm going to add a field. What's the field I'm going to add? For example, is, heck, I don't even know. Scope of work. I think this is actually already maybe in the project side of things, but scope of work. Let me see in the project. Do we have scope of work here? No, we'll put it here. Scope of work. Okay. Now, I'm going to build this into my template so these things are there. But what do I get to go do? Scope of work. Remodel kitchen in the back of the home. Right? Okay. Now that I have that, how do I access it? Let me just come in here. Macro down button. Global. Project info. Project. Scope of work. Bam. Just like that. It's easy as that. So you need your engineer's information, address, phone number, all that stuff in your title block. Now this is accessible. Now it's easy to produce. You don't have to do any workarounds. It's in one location. You can build this into the layout side, or you can build this into the plan side. And you just get to pull this information just by using the internal global macros system for this. You can even execute scripts inside of those fields. That gets a little bit more complex, but this is going to make a huge difference for doing some conditional changes if you want to. For instance, in my templates in X17, when you change the client state from California to some other state, it's going to change all my spec writing from the CBC CRC to the IBC IRC. So you can do that very easily now. There might be some ways that you might be able to look up your zoning codes, etc., in this way. So we've been asking for this for so long, and we finally got it. And not only that, but it would, on the plan side, where we're capable of doing schedules, you don't necessarily have to think about this as project information. This doesn't have to be just project information. Okay, so if I come into this information here, I could say, hey, wall framing, what is it? 2x4 at 16 center, blah, blah, blah. Right? So now I gotta go throw it into my detail and come in here and same thing. Just get to come in here and give me my wall framing. Okay. Build that into your template, build that into all of your details. Now you have one way to address this. I have a system that does this based on schedules. This is pretty commonly known for a lot of people, is that I just drive all my annotations from a schedule where I drop something into the top slot, and suddenly that shows me, in my details that it's all 2x6 dug for, etc. So that system's already built there. That's a complex system to build. You don't need that system anymore. You could just do this. You could just build out in your template plan all this additional information where you drive all of your annotations from one location and be able to use them very easily. And not only that, but there's nothing keeping you from storing this in your library. Add this to your library. That way, when you go pull an elevation, you get to just drop this in and know it's going to pull from the plan. And so you've got one place where you set up your plan so that you've got, you're driving all of your information from this location. All right, let's get to this next one. Time tracker totals. Include the total hours when printing and exporting. I'm not sure about this one, so let's go take a look at this. View time log. Total duration. So if I just wanted to export selected, and we'll just throw this example time tracker. And that should have been exported. Let's go take a look. I did in fact get, it does in fact give row totals. Cool. Thanks, Chief. Simple one, simple, nice. Okay. Time tracker sorting. Time tracker sorting. Okay, it looks like we just get to, click on the very different headings and just sort options by that. Simple, I like it. Cool. Edit in progress time tracker log. Okay, that's nice, so that we don't have to stop the in progress log, right? And so what are we doing here? Edit, manage your active time tracker entries without pausing the log. Oh, it just means I guess you're going to change the start time for this. All right. Sure. I like that. Suppress label edit toolbar, quickly suppress an object's label. We did show this, so it's easy to just select this and then uncheck the label, and that will suppress it in just this view. If I switch to my working plan view, it seems to suppress it in every view. So I thought that this was just a display label in this view. Interesting, but it's not just this view, it's all views. So And, you know, a couple things like that we're going to run into. Just the language is a little bit different. Let's see, convert between rich text and text. That's actually kind of a big one for me. The reason being is that it is certainly easy enough to convert this to a note, okay? And so that becomes a note. Now I could instead convert this back, I believe, to, how you used to be able to convert this to text. Boy, am I wrong? Thought we could convert a note to text. I'm opening up X17 in the side here. I'm just going to double check something. I want to make sure that I don't need to report something here. So if we have some text and we convert it to a note, I guess we could not convert this back to rich text. I thought that we could, but I must have been remembering that wrong. Okay. But what is nice is occasionally you might be picking up, you know, I'm just going to grab straight from my post here some text, and if I were to go paste this text, that would typically come in as rich text. And so now I can just convert it to regular text. And there it is, but for some reason it's not doing its auto width, auto height. It's very interesting. Text style. Oh, weird. It's doing some other text style. But there we go. That converted it to regular text. That's very cool. I like that feature. I'm going to use it sparingly every once in a while, but I will use it. Sage land design. Is there a way to access a row total in a schedule with a macro? No. And that's a really, really complex thing to establish. So what I would tell you instead is if we were to go look at, let's just look at my roof plan, for example, and we'll select a roof, and we're going to go take a look at a schedule from that roof, is that instead of trying to access a row total, build your totals into the accumulation. Okay, so how this works is you build your total into the calc itself. This is, we're getting off topic here. And what you need to do is make sure that you're calculating the total and you're summing the similar rows, and you're only including column headings that allow for grouping similar objects. And in that way, you can create a total. So you're not going to present the information in the way that you'd like to present it, which would be like, hey, let's get a subtotal. Let's take that subtotal, add it to another field, and then accrue a new total from there. It's just, you have to think about things just a little outside of the box in order to get totals to be pulled from objects and do their totaling. It's really a hard thing to train on. If you want more information about it, you can shoot me an email. Okay, let's go next one here. Automatic screen scrolling is a really cool feature, especially for those that are not utilizing a 3D mouse. What does that mean? Let me come into a working plan view, and I'm just going to draw a little wall here. And so I'm drawing a wall, Look at the screen. Look at that screen go. Isn't that cool? It's automatically panning for me. This is something that we did not have before, so that's very, very cool. Let's go look at a 3D view. For instance, let's see, what's something that I can maybe do on the fly here is if I, look at that, automatically panning that terrain, right? Isn't that cool? That'll make a big difference for some people. Nudge further action. Hold down Shift, then use the arrow keys while an object is selected to move it with larger increments than the standard nudge. So right now, if we were to go double click the select objects tool and look at my snap grid units, I'm at 1/8 of an inch. So this should jump 1/8 of an inch as I'm hitting the arrow key. If I hold shift and hit it, boy, look at that. That just jumps all the way to the end. I wonder where that secondary movement setting is. I'm going to just change the grid size of this reference grid to 12 inches to see if somehow that has anything to do with it. So hold shift. There we go. It's coming from the grid reference. So there's a 12-inch jump and there's an 1/8 inch jump. That's very nice. I like that a lot. So if you're going to concentrically resize something, that still is a different tool. So if I hold the C key or the comma key and hold shift, does that change anything? No. So that's still the concentric jump distance here. Set this to 3, for instance. Jump, 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 jump. Yep. Okay. Okay. Match paper to drawing sheet. Set print projects to use the drawing sheet size as the paper size. That's certainly nice. Yeah, there's times where the drawing sheet's going to remember the last drawing sheet you used previously. So now if I go and choose one of my layouts, such as, let's just do an Arch E, because I know I did not print in an Arch E last time I did this. And so here's, well, let's choose one that I've been actually using. Go and only show active. So here's active. I'm going to pick that Arch E. Oh, this is something new. Typically this would recognize this font, but they've had a change where it picks up the sub font class. So here's Enter, and then semi-bold is trying to match this Enter 18 semi-bold. So family and face. So you will have to maybe do that first time you're setting up your templates. And so there's what we drew, getting onto the page, right? There's my pink toilet. There's my new settings. And so this is an Arch E layout. And so if I go print, where might this setting be? Match print source. It's already set up that way. Yeah, that's very cool. Just automatically picks the correct sheet size. Just saving a little bit of time. I like that. Let's see, what do we have here? John Jones, cool. How about editing the plan from the layout viewport? Say more about that, John. What are you thinking about editing the plan from the layout viewport? I'm editing what? Is what I would ask. Let's see, collated printing. Print multiple layout sets as documents, preserving the page order in which sheets are printed. Print multiple layout sets as documents, preserving the page order in which sheets are printed. Boy, I don't know that I know what that means. I'm not sure I know what that means. If someone knows, let me know. Yeah. Yeah, I would think so. Cottage Keeper, don't most printers do collated printing for us? I suppose I need an actual physical printer for that feature. Tom, if you don't see X18 Beta available in your digital download, just give them a call. I think they're still open. Give them a call right now. And you just need to make sure that your SSA is current, that you paid for the next year of that SSA. Let's see, search for defaults. The search bar in the default settings dialog lets you quickly find the controls you need to modify. Search bar in the default settings dialog. Okay, so default settings. Oh, very cool. Yeah, why not? Boy, that'll help some new people understand default settings. So room labels. Look at that. Man, that's cool. That's really fast and easy. Line style names. See tooltips of line style names. So here we go. I've got a tool search at the bottom of my screen that I'm going to utilize real quick. Here, I'll just put it in the middle of the screen here. And I'm going to say line style management, right? So I'm going to get into line style management. And then here are the names. Did we not have names before? Line style names. See tooltips of line style names when you hover over them in the style dropdown of the line specification dialog. Okay, let me just draw a line here. Let's open this up. Line style, solid line. Okay, center line. Yeah, sure, I like that. Why not? That's a simple one. I'll take it. That's old people too. Yeah, no, I like that. To search the default settings. You know, I forget things too. Clicking in the layout view and moving a wall or adding text to the plan. Clicking in the layout view and moving a wall or adding text to the plan view from the layout without opening the plan. No, you're really not gonna, you know, you're probably not gonna get that anytime soon. I don't know that I would know why I would want that. I do want layout to be very separate from, you'd almost be like entering an edit view and then moving some things around. Add custom patterns to library. We already kind of could do that. And then add them to the library browser for reuse. Add custom patterns to library. Thought we could already do that, so I'm not sure what that one's about. I'm going to skip past that one. Add distributed paths to library is a very cool thing. In case you didn't know about that tool and the power of that tool, my default template when I draw out a distributed path is just got LEDs loaded with it. So I can just draw out a bunch of LEDs in this room very simply. And there we go. Now the fact that we could add this to the library just means that we could trade this out with the toggle replacement mode, which would be very nice. So if I get into this, it's for, I want this to be a gable end wall. If I get into this, there we go. There's my, look at those. I have apparently I have an angled LED loaded into this distributed path. I'm not sure why. But if I explode this, it should just mount to the ceiling. Here we go. You know, I'm really good about finding glitches, so that's going to be one I have to report because that did not behave like that in the previous versions. That was pretty funny. If I go back here real quick and see what this is going with, what's going on with this chief. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I'll have to go report it. Sorry, chief. I don't mean to break your stuff. You know I'm good at it. Path searches in library browser. Use the search string path as a prefix for an object's file location to locate specific items in the library browser. Path. Use a search string path. I don't know what that is referring to. Oh, well, I put it in quotes for one. That was dumb. It was my own fault. Oops, let's try that again. Huh. Not entirely sure how to utilize this. It's interesting that it gives us two text string filters in this case. So let me clear this one and go material. Or let me do a material class. which I know I have many of, and then path. Boy, I'm going to need some instruction on how that works. I'm not sure. Let's just go. I'm going to find my materials path. And paste that in there. That did nothing. Space in there. I don't know. I'm going to have to wait for that one, figure out how that one works. I'm not sure if I need to put quotes, if it needs to be an exact path or not. Let me see if I can find a texture that I know is loaded in here. Know that I've got maybe an oak texture in here. Or flooring texture in here. Bear with me. I'm just trying to figure this out, see if this works. Let's see. Or oak 1 bump, 1 4 AO. Use. I'm going to copy as path, bring this back into Chief. No? No, I'm not sure how that works, so stay tuned. Interesting. Okay. Replace from library for entire plan. Use the plan scoping mode to replace identical objects with something with the library browser. For example, update all the resets scan lights in your plan with new version from the library browser. So we could already do that in a 3D view. Maybe what's being said here is that we can do it from a 2D view. So if I take this, and where's my, there is no edit toolbar. Replace from library for the entire plan. Use the plan scoping mode to replace identical objects with something from the library browser. Come into the library browser, type in LED. LED2, for instance. Plan scoping mode. Bam. Could we already do that? I guess I'm forgetting how this works exactly. Yeah, you do it in 2D all the time. So what's new here? Replace from library for entire plan. Plan scoping mode to replace identical objects with something from the library browser. Huh, not sure. There's another one I'm confused about. We'll have to come back to it. Okay, edit molding polylines from the library browser. That's very nice. Update, rotate, or otherwise edit molding polylines directly within your user catalog. That's a very nice one. Sometimes I add moldings and I want to make some adjustments to them, and the only way to make adjustments to them is to go make the adjustments to the original molding you created and then re-add it to the library, which means that if you've tagged it and added search attributes and filtered it and put it into the correct folder and then come to discover that you made a mistake and you need to fix something on it, you couldn't before. You had to go re-add it again. So that's a really nice feature, is being able to edit straight from the library browser. So cool. Appreciate that. Copy text from the library browser details panel. Use the context menu to easily copy information from a library's items details. So let me turn on the details menu. And for instance, here are the tags for this. If I click on that, I can get to those tags easily. But maybe there's something in the notes of this particular library item, for example, something here, and save it. And so what? this just means we can select it and copy it. Yes. Regenerate thumbnail. That's part of the new feature. Search attributes, text maximum management. Add block, I just liked. Add a link. And so I'm not really seeing what this is all about either. Boy, we've gotten 3 in a row where I'm not really understanding what the big difference is there. Sun and moon location. See feedback regarding the location of the active sun or moon by enabling the sun and moon direction indicator. Sun angle, sun and moon, sun or moon by enabling the sun moon direction indicator. Okay. I'm not quite sure if that's in a 3D view. I wouldn't think so. I would think it's here. And we used to have, just go sun angle. Sun angle. There's the make shadow. So there's our direction indicator. What happens here? Boy, I'm feeling like a big novice right now. I open this up and didn't seem like I could move it, rotate it, because it's locked into that timeline. Savings time. Well, shows the shadows moving around. Not sure what that one's about either. See feedback regarding the location of the sun. Okay. WebP image support. That's really nice. WebP is a compressed image style, so that makes it's going to make a big difference in some things. Boy, we hit a lull right there for a second, so let's see. WebP is modern Google-developed image format designed to optimize images for web. Its primary advantages are drastically smaller file sizes, much smaller than JPEGs, all without sacrificing visual quality. So, maybe, maybe I'll go change all my image files to WebP and drastically reduce the file size of my library. Thank you, Chief. That's a lot more work than I planned on signing up for, but I do appreciate it. That's gonna be a lot. Okay. Dark mode support. You may have noticed already, my machine is on dark mode, which means that colors that were black before are now white in these icons. Now, there is a way to force light mode or force dark mode in your color settings inside of preferences. So I could come in here and say, hey, instead of this custom color scheme right here, I'm going to switch to force light mode, or I'm going to switch to force dark mode, or go back to that color scheme. Okay. Or go back to the system. That's going to, follow whatever the system is. In this case, it's dark mode, or go to that custom color theme. All right. Now I know that there's going to be something in the future where this, could be dark if you wanted it to be. So keep that in mind. And then let's go on up, edit material builder settings, store settings used in material builder. Okay, so the material builder is going to be the 3D menu, material builder, and it looks like if we select a builder like this tile builder here, that, what's it saying? Store settings used in material builders, material builder with material, and access later. Okay, so for instance, I'm going to add this to the library. There we go. This just added to the library. Oh, wow. This is cool. What did this allow me to do? I know my webcam's in the way. Open back up in Material Editor and make some changes. That's really cool. Good job, Chief. Man, Dustin Cruz, so thankful for you forever putting this stuff together and this material builder thing. And that just makes a big difference for a lot of people trying to generate materials. Yeah, that's very, very cool. So glad that they put that in there. Style palette doors. They've added some things to style palettes. So if you were to come into your catalog, let me just turn off this details panel here and shrink this down a little bit. I'm going to come into my catalog and I'm going to say, hey, new style palette. What you're going to notice is there's a few new objects in here. One is partition. That's new. I think shelf is new. Shower door is new. Garage door is new. And that's it. But yeah, added a few things in here. So that's pretty cool, being able to, on the fly, change your garage door very quickly. You know, have that follow the architectural style of what you had before, or maybe you're doing some custom things with it, and you want to just be able to quickly click and change something, like make it a 4-panel door or 5-panel door, garage door, etc. Same thing with shelf and partitions. It's nice because you can inject macros into the custom fields and then use a style palette as a single click action to change all of those things. So that's very cool. Boy, this is one that is very helpful. Interior versus exterior door. Choose to set a door as interior or exterior regardless of where it's placed, basically, is what that's going to be saying. Is look at this. That's an exterior door. What if we open this up and look at that? We get to specify that this is an interior door. And now that it's an interior door, it should follow my interior naming convention. It didn't. So something in my macros overriding that. But if we go find out what the object properties are for this, and we go take a look, and let me just expand this real quick. If we were to go look up door type, I believe, door type, let's see, just maybe type by itself, type, hinged, no, that's not it. Something in here should classify this as interior versus exterior. Is exterior door false? That's what we're looking at. That's what that did. So cool. I get to go rewrite some macros to take advantage of that in the case that we've got some conditions where, you know, we want to label things differently based on it being an exterior versus an interior door. Very cool. We already saw this, shelves and partitions in style palettes. Cabinet sides in style palettes. This is going to be a really good one. Why? Because if you were to do something like this, I'm going to show you how to make this real quick. This is going to be a big one for you kitchen designers in X18. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to say front sides right. I'm going to go right side and I'm going to go auto paneled. On top of that, in my door drawer, I'm going to say that the drawer panel is some frame drawer, and that, excuse me, I'm going to say that the, accessories panel here. Side panel, framed panel, full size panel, full overlay. Extend to the bottom. Now we see what I just did there, right? Because if we rotate this around, we've got a full overlay side panel. Now if I add this to a style palette, create a new, this is going to be right side paneled. Oops. Right side paneled. And I set the properties and I clear all. There should be a copy face configuration. Well, instead, you should be able to copy the back face configuration, copy the left face, copy the right face. In this case, I want to copy the right face configuration. That's the only checkbox I want. This has now become a tool for me so that when I have a cabinet and I place it here and we go look at this cabinet and we see that there's nothing going on here, right? We should be able to use this tool. Something I forgot about this tool is that we probably need to, take a look at the accessory stuff. Main panel style, and then what is this? What else do we have? We look up panel thickness. We can change panel thickness. Is there something that extends it to the floor? I'm not sure. Let's just try it as is. Because if I spray this now and we go open this up, what does it look like? Okay, so it didn't save full size panel, full overlay, extend to bottom. And those just might be the settings I need to change. Extend. Sometimes they don't name them the same. Cool. So it looks like we don't quite have all of the settings, but we were able to just copy the fact that it was paneled in that case. So could be, a big game changer for some things, right? Okay. Now what it says, let's see, what allow you to paint room names now? Oh, great question, by the way. I've been told in the past that that was an extremely difficult code to adjust, and so that they couldn't do that. And I reported it so many times that they finally just removed that from style palettes entirely. So if I were to add a room name, and let's just say okay, and room name. Oh no, here's name. Room type, use type for name is false. There still is no room type category here. Okay. Schedule categories. Sure. So you can still change the room name, which we could do before, but no, you can't change the room type still. Okay. And I just know that they've told me that's an extremely difficult bit of code. And I wish, I'm with you there. I've been asking for that for a while. Okay. Object painter for stairs and ramps. Okay. So let's just do a little click stair. What are a few things here? We've never been able to concentrically resize this. We still can't. It's always been difficult to kind of snap this to things. Okay. Let's see about object painter stairs and ramps. So I'm going to do an exterior stair here, and we'll just draw it down, for instance. And so we can see if we go pull a little 3D view, that's my exterior stair. This is going to be my interior stair. And so potentially we get to use the object painter here. What happens when we just click on this out of the box? It changed the width of it, that's for sure. So what all do we have the ability to do? Allow wrap, auto openings, baluster, has open risers, has tread, rail material, rail height. It didn't copy the rail style, but it copied a few other things, materials mainly. So if you want more features in there, Throw it in the suggestions, but that's pretty cool that we at least get the object eyedropper to do a few things in there. Oh boy, this is going to be a big one for some people. We're about halfway through right now. We've been streaming for what? Hour and a quarter. Manage mold units. You can set your defaults and use the match properties object painter and add to library as tools on mold units. Let's just throw this in a gable end wall, for instance. I'm just going to copy paste this, drag this up 48 inches. I'll drag this down 24 inches. We're going to make this a little fixed window, and I might even make it an arch. Let's just say that this is a mold unit. So what do we get to do with this? We get to set as default. I don't see. Oh, I need to click on it again. It was in the shift select mode. So yeah, I can set this as my default mold unit. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I know what that means. Something that's really nice about that is when people are trying to import an old plan file into my template files that do a lot of cool things in the schedule, it's really difficult for me to import certain things. We can see here that, for whatever reason, this frames is not executed on the mold unit because of something that they changed. So I'm going to have to address that. But it's really difficult to inject this data. I have to unmold a unit before I inject that data. So making something as set as default just means that I can have other windows follow, other mold units follow the default. So that might be nice. Don't think that works for custom object fields though still. So we still got a little bit of an issue there. Set as defaults, but use match properties would be a way of doing that. So for example, let's just say, I'm going to copy this over and let's just say this mold unit in a bunch of my fields where I'm getting custom stuff here. Let me delete these things and we'll see that if I go open the schedule, this causes a problem. It's a bunch of blank info here. All right. So I want this blank info to fill in like the rest of it. So I should be able to, at least in a plan view, go over here and say match properties, select clear all, select custom fields, bam, click OK, and apply properties and draw over the top of this. And there we go. That fixed my schedule. Boy, that's going to save me some serious time. So a couple different use cases for this. Object Painter works. And add the library as tools. So if we were to add this to the library, we took our time to make out a really custom window. And we just get to place that right back. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Let's do something a little more custom to really showcase this. Let's just, for instance, I'm going to unmold this real quick. And let's just say, for instance, we've got this left sliding here. Be over, we'll just do a little 48 here. I'm going to make this be 24 wide. I'm going to make this be fixed. And then I'm going to copy paste this around the other side. And we will group select all these moles together and open this up and create a broken arch. Right? And then on top of that, let's go pull a little elevation view. I don't know if I'm going to get this to work, but we'll give it a try. We'll see if we can go all the way across this. I'm not sure that that will work, but we'll try it. I'm going to make this a CAD block and see if this will load muttons. It will not. It will not. So they need to be in the individual sections. That's okay. We'll give that a shot. So I'm just going to draw a little line here, do one here. Got a CAD block. Tab into this, load muttons. Tab into this, load muttons. And so now, do I get to just save this in my library? Boy, that is cool. That is cool. Expect to see some really custom windows in my library in the future when you purchase it. That is really convenient. Cool. Big one. All right, control cabinet auto fillers. This is a big one for designers. I have fillers turned off and now I'm so used to just placing my fillers as I need to. So I'll pop this cabinet in and I'll go use the base filler tool and then I'll go adjust this. That's what I do. I don't do those auto fillers. Now, instead, you can click on this and what? Open it. Or you can suppress automatic fillers. Choose whether to generate autofillers for the entire plan and select individual cabinets to exclude. So probably how I will approach this, because I prefer not to have autofillers on because they cause problems at times, is that I would do this. I'm going to double click my base cabinet tool. I'm going to suppress automatic fillers on my base cabinet tool. I'm going to go into default settings for, hey, and we could search this, fillers. Oh, no, we can't. Cabinet. and in general cabinet defaults, create automatic fillers. Okay. Now press done. Now when I place my cabinet, it's not going to generate automatic fillers, but on the fly, I could open this up and say, hey, uncheck suppress automatic fillers. There we go. And it just generated it. That's very convenient. I like that. Recessed corner boards. Boy, this is going to make for some cool things. Let's use the corner board tool and open this guy up real quick. Recess the sheathing layer. Look at that. That's pretty slick. You can do some pretty advanced corners with that, especially the coins. Nice. We haven't even gotten to the big one yet, which is all that 3D cladding and stuff. Automatically clipped acute wall connections. Acute wall connections automatically join with square instead of pointed end. Oh, good. There's a whole new wall intersection feature, and I'm not sure how it's showing up here because it looks different than what we had in the previous beta version. So if I have two walls like this, okay, and actually let me, sorry, I need to update my default wall type here. I still have not done this. Group edit these layers and fill style and use layer. Needed to update that real quick. Okay. So yeah, should be, let's try this again. Okay. Now, if we were to go do the wall intersection tool, this is butting instead of cutting, right? Now, this little icon here, when we click on it, that means that we are no longer automatically joining this connection. Notice it stayed where it was. Okay? Stayed right where it was. Did not join here. Click on this and click on this again and enable auto connect. And I bring this back over here and I slide this back over, look at that. It's moving with it. This is going to help a lot of people with some auto connection stuff. If I were to click on a railing and I wanted this railing to cut through the end of this wall, that would be a challenge, right? So here's what I do. Edit the wall connection. Uncheck this. Okay. Now that that's unchecked, I should be able to drag this back and just butt to this railing. And it should be a matter of not overtaking this railing. So you're going to have some things to ignore here. Auto, yeah. Ignore unconnected wall. So a little bit more in the management of end connections. I'm going to have to mess around with this a little bit more to give you some really comprehensive tutorials on how to utilize this. But that now exists. The wall intersection tool is more advanced now. Good job on that, Chief. Wall cap offsets. I have wanted this. There has been times when I wanted wall cap offsets. Namely, when you're creating like a railing offset, and you want the wall cap to kind of go with it or do something special with it. So that's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Certainly going to make for some, utilizing railings in new ways where we can utilize the wall caps. Wall end auto connect. That's what we just kind of went over. So what was the previous one? Automatically clip acute wall connections. Yeah, join with instead of a pointed end, join with a square end. Wall and control whether walls connect automatically using the auto connect option. Manage wall joints, acute angles to decide whether they meet at a point or a blunt end. Wonder if there's some additional settings in there. Let's just take a look in here. I don't see anything in the dialog boxes, but again, if we choose this, we get to choose that auto connect. What happens when we do a continuation? We drag this out. Both of those are going to draw with that connection in place. But if I get this close to this other wall, look, it's not going to join. It's going to let you know that, hey, typically we would auto join this. So you're going to have to hit that ignore. Might be worth putting a hotkey up finally for that ignore disconnected wall segments. Okay. Multiply framing. I know we got some happy people in the comment section for that, right? Yeah. Multiply framing. Let's get into default settings. Framing and framing members. Let's just get into my header, for example. Or at least I thought I had a header. Wall framing wall header. Okay. Type. So where do we get this from? Apply framing. Let's try it a different way. Let's go this way. Let's go. Let's go into this window here. What did we have before? Multiply framing. Specify ply count for beams, posts, and girder trusses. Hold on. Okay. All right. Let's get back into this. Framing. Framing types. Beam stresses. Beam. Number. Boy, if someone's got the software up and want to go dig around for this, let me know. I don't immediately see where we're going to specify this from. Do I think it's an additional feature for once they are drawn? Good question. I would think that it's set up in the default. Just throw in what? Ply count. Framing specification. Roof beam. Okay. For instance, 6 ply. Total width is, oh, and the ply width is this direction. Interesting. So let's just do this. Okay. What we want. Oh, highest ply count seems to be 10. Okay. Huh. Let's just see what this looks like. I have to turn on beams. Like I said, you're seeing this as I'm seeing this, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at. Where did I draw that beam? Somewhere. We got a really messed up project, don't we? Where is this beam? It's in that center section. So how does this show up? Okay. Yeah, all right. So it shows this. Let's pull a cross section. So yeah, clearly this is split up and then it's using whatever material I use for beams. And so back clipped cross section. And oftentimes it's all the way. Oh, also notice that there's a room label here. Might appreciate that. Some people might like that. There's all the plies. Look at that. I don't think that that's all that clear of an illustration, though. Not sure how I feel about that. Let's just see what the line style does to it. Yeah, it makes it. Yeah, I'm going to have to modify some things. Okay. I'm with it. I like it. Boy, this is exhausting. We got a lot more to go. Look at that. Let's see if I can get through them a little bit faster. Retain manual framing with the auto rebuild tools. Okay. That just means you get to pick some framing members, say that you want to retain them, and then readdress the auto framing. That might actually fix pole barns where you're doing girt framing and then changing it over to your post framing. Boy, that's gonna make a certain person I know named Shane real happy if that's true. I want to almost set up a little project for that. Oops, shut the wrong thing down there. No, don't save. None of that. Don't save. Don't save. Okay, and let me get that up again. We got sets, books, and what's new in Chief Architect X18 new features. That should be back up on the screen. Sorry about that. There we go. And so we are retain manual framing. Let's see what we could do about this. I know I'm not blind, but you can see here that my project browser is empty. So what's going on with that? I don't know. I don't like it. Like I deleted everything and I didn't. So let's just reboot this thing. Like I said, I'm real good about breaking things. There it goes. It rebuilt. Woo! Close one. So let's just... Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open this wall up, wall types, this particular wall type, and we're going to set this up so that it is edit the layer. Edit layer is now how you get, before we had 3 tabs at the bottom, edit layer is the new function for this. And so stud width, I'm going to make this 3.5. And what are we going to say? We're going to say that this is 4-foot centers. Okay. Bottom plate width is, yeah, whatever, 1.5 inches. That's fine. Bottom plate, blah, blah, blah. We're just doing proof of concept here. Okay. And so if we were to build all framing, don't want to show that. We're going to switch to my framing floor plan view where this particular wall type, again, I need to make sure that I set this so that all the fill styles follow the layer, and that's going to make a big difference. And these center guys here are going to line style be just blanked out. Oh, okay. So with that in mind, framing wall, turn those on. There's my framing. All right. Now if I select one of these framing members and now I marquee select, it's not going to let me marquee select. That's interesting. Also, I see apply framing default properties. This is a new tool. Move to framing reference. That's a new tool. If I go into just a general framing member and select all these, and I mark them as edited, automatically generated framing member. So if I uncheck this automatic generated framing member, and I go back into the wall properties, and I say, edit this layer, it now becomes framing, wall framing. Where is our horizontal framing? Dirt width. Still think this wants to be 38 inches. Let's go 24 centers. I might be doing this wrong. It's been a minute. Forgive me. Press OK. Generate all framing. What happens now? I'm not seeing wall framing at all. Oh. Yeah, that retained the post and created the girts. Now, I didn't check those girts as being automatic. So what if I get back in here and fix this? Layer. Bottom girt width, top girt width, girt width. Press OK. Okay, press OK. Generate. Go look at this. Oh, it's really the girt depth that needs to change. All right, so, but clearly we got to retain the posts. So we did auto framing on the posts, and then we get to do auto framing on the girts. That is going to make some of those pole barn people out there really, really happy. It's still not a perfect solution, but that's pretty good. So that's this next part too. Specify framing as manual versus automatic. Set framing members as manual to prevent them from being rebuilt with the automatic tools. That's pretty slick. I see a new comment. Amy Keller, Studio Architect. Missed the first hour or so. Is the changelog available somewhere without downloading X18 yet? I need to clean up my hard drive before I jump on it, but I would like to read through this tonight. Okay. Where is the changelog? Let me see if I can answer that. If you look on the Chief Architect What's New page, it is live there, and there is a new feature list PDF there. Okay. I'm going to copy the link to this PDF and look in the chat, and you should see that link coming from me, I think. Is that going to let me do that? Doesn't look like it's going to let me do that. So instead, because the link's too long, I'm going to just link you to the What's New page. So there we go. Let's go to that What's New page. You can click on that link, and then there is the new features list PDF. Peak trusses. Choose whether a truss is added to each roof peak when automatic trusses are generated. I'm not going to mess around with that yet. Choose whether a truss is added at each roof peak when automatic trusses are generated. Okay. Truss material list. Report the truss cords and webbing for each individual truss to a material list. Interesting. Roof subfascia length. Okay, that's just for material list calculations. This looks like we're in a material list section here. Building construction section. Okay. Truss material lists. Yep. Roof subfascia length. Lookout framing spacing. Control the offset and spacing for roof lookout framing. That's nice. Absolutely. We're getting into some, you know, like monopoly framing stuff, or we're going to have to do some unique specifications. I like this. It's keeping up to date with the times. Staggered wall plates. What? Oh, that's just for the wall plate construction at the corners is staggered butted flush. Let me shut this down and kind of redraw it again. So with staggered wall plates, choose whether the wall plate construction at the corners is staggered butted flush. I'm get into framing again. I think automatic framing, wall, wall corners, reduced stud, laddered, and U-shaped. Wall plate connection. Plates match stud default. Wall plate connection styled staggered or flush. What do we think that that means? Let me see what they're trying to talk about here. Here, we'll build all framing. And we'll just do a line over rendering style so we can see this. And we'll just do, we're just going to hide this layer. So that would be, I mean, did it not do this before? This would be a typical top wall double top plate where we're staggering the lap joints. So instead, in framing, automatic framing, and plate connection, go to flush, and that's flush. Interesting. Was that how it used to be? I would think that it was staggered before. I certainly would not build a corner like this in my region. Treated lumber wall plates. Specify materials for top and bottom rows of wall plates and girts for horizontal framing. That's very cool. Let's see what that's about. Let's get into the default settings. This is for us, you know, architectural construction doc folk. This is going to make us happy, right? Automatic framing. Plates, top plate, bottom plate construction mat stud default. And so instead we could do some kind of treated plate. Let me just say sill plate. Let me define this. Let's edit it. Let's pick up. Is it going to pick up material default? Just treated. Doesn't look like it lets us specify a material default. Interesting. Where would that be? Type lumber. And let's look at the roles, and maybe we can figure this out from framing types. Lumber. So let's just copy this, call it treated. And that doesn't really do me anything. It's not gonna, that doesn't edit the material it's using. Members. And this doesn't give us any material changes. I was hoping to see this change that bottom plate's material. So I'm not sure what that's about. Get back to it. So what did this do? This just changed. Type lumber, use automatic bottom plate. Sure. Sure how we can get this to go. All right, I'm gonna move on. Treated lumber wall plates, specify materials for top and bottom. Well, it says specify materials, so I'm not sure where that is. We're gonna have to mess around with this, maybe in my next video. Edit wall intersections for pony walls. Choose to edit the wall intersection for both the upper and lower wall types intersection. Whoa, now we're getting really fancy. Okay, so here we go. I've got a pony wall assembly here. Boy, I don't know how they're gonna pull this off. So here's the lower wall assembly. Huh. So cool, Chief. So cool. Let's throw in a little, I don't know, foundation wall. Straight foundation wall. Throw in a foundation wall. And so my upper wall, what do I want? Foundation wall, let's make it even more obvious than that. Let's just throw in this custom brick wall that I have. So what I'm going to say is wall intersection. The upper wall, I'm going to pull, maybe I'll pull this away. But this is going to be challenging to figure out exactly how to work this. Huh. And then the lower wall gets its separate intersections. Boy, I'm gonna have to mess around with this. There's a few things to learn here. A few different times where I can think about where this would be helpful. You know, the main area where I think this would be helpful is sometimes we've got a setup here where we've got like a brick pony wall, right? So let's just take this wall for instance, and we're going to specify that we got brick red 6. There's our brick pony wall. Let's align the inner surface. All right. And then maybe it's that halfway through here, that brick pony wall stops, right? So we're going to pick that brick pony wall off. And so sometimes this creates an issue where we're not getting this to wrap where we need it to wrap, you know, that this is pushed past, you know, that's the overhang here. And so now with our wall intersections lower wall type, I should be able to take the brick back. Maybe. especially if I have like a return pony wall somehow. Expect me to, throw out some tutorials here at some point, but this is definitely a condition where I've had to do this, where I'm trying to pull the brick back to where this the foundation is, right? That's where I wanted it to stop. But I have a window like butted all the way to this condition because we've got a completely different wall type or something like that. So this will definitely help us being able to change that intersection of that lower wall type. Let's see, framing defaults for openings. Specify framing defaults for headers, sills, king studs, and so how's that different than what we had before? Yeah, got a lot more going on in here. Yeah, expect me to put out some new videos where I get to take a deeper dive on this. I want to keep this moving because, I want to keep you guys' attention and everything like that, and get to some of the really good features that we still haven't touched yet. Sash inset. Yes, define the inset distance for window sash to sit anywhere within the wall's width. Yes, Chief, yes. So for instance, let's just take this wall and, well, for one, let's just extend it. But let's open this bad boy up. I'm going to change this to siding 6. Why not? Make it a little bit bigger and then open this guy up. And for that sash, inset. So now we see where it's at. Let's set this to 4 inches. Yeah. Boy. Finally. Why does that make things nice? Yeah. Plenty of reasons to do that. Not only that, but oftentimes I use windows to create other things. Right? So this is going to make it very easy to get a little bit more specific. Very cool. Joist direction specification. Choose whether it runs parallel or perpendicular to the joists and edit the width and framing defaults along with several other parameters directly from the joist directions line specification. So if we were to get down here and we would build our framing, and I'm going to actually switch to my framing floor plan view for this. And then if I used the framing joist direction right there and just draw this out, 2x6 joist, 16 on center. Now, if you open this up, you could just on the fly say that this is what? 2x8 joists at 16 on center. What happens when you do this? Now, this is really silly to me. I suppose there's some use cases where this happens, but really, I always thought that this might follow the engineer spec, which is that if we draw this from corner to corner, this is really going to, have then a cross line to illustrate that across the span of this location that we've got joists running left to right. So it's kind of funny that you can just draw it out diagonally and have it just match the direction of those joists. The other thing to note here is that if we come upstairs and we draw a little room divider and we say that this wall here is actually in the structure panel a bearing wall, we've got automatic generate on, we're going to see that there's our joist direction. If you come in here framing and do another joist direction line on this side of the wall, it's going to be confused by this. It is not seeing this bearing wall as a bearing line change, right? A direction change. So even though this is generated from the floor above, and we can see here that, things are changing based on that bearing location, right? This works just fine. Problem is that we have to come into this automatically generated wall and say that this is a bearing wall in order for it to pick up. Now this turns off automatic build framing. So just keep that in, or excuse me, automatic foundations. Just keep that in mind. But it does have the capabilities of changing this joist direction. And then you can see here, it's picking up the room default, but you can change that default right from here. Now, if we change that default right from here, what happens to the room above? Clearly, this is 2x8 joists. If we go select the room above and we go look in the structure panel, do we actually see 2x8 joists? No, it's still showing that the joists here are 5.5. So it's not like retroactively changing the room's structure defaults, but it is in fact changing this, right? The thickness here has changed. For example, if I were to kick this into like, let's just call it 16 inches, and we're going to use maybe an eye joist or something. Whatever joist, eye joist, there we go. And let me press OK. There's that 16 inches. We're going to pull this framing overview. Did that in fact change it? Yes. And so it pins the top, it drops down our stem wall foundation to those 16-inch eye joists. So the room is no longer the directive. Can you really screw some things up and get really confused about what you did utilizing these methods? Yeah, absolutely. So kind of keep track of what you're doing there. All right, rim joists, corner intersection. Choose whether your platform corners have staggered or flush rim joist intersections. Okay, so same thing as wall plates, staggered or flush or butted. Deck ledger defaults. I know this is kind of a big one, I think. Let me get into this. Let's just build. We're going to go up a floor. We're going to build a new floor. And let me just say, okay, there's our new floor. I'm going to switch to just a working plan view. And we'll kick in a little deck right here. And why not? I'll just draw a little staircase down. Okay. Let's see. Actually, let me try click stairs. Yeah, click stairs. Staircase down. Why not? Okay, deck ledger offset. So we open this bad boy up. Deck support. You know what? I think this happens from the 3D view. Where are we seeing deck ledger? Deck beams, deck post with fittings, offset from ends. I don't immediately see this. Max plank, deck joist, ledger board. Here it is. Offset from the edge. For instance, maybe you might need your deck ledger 1/2 inch off the wall, right? So if we were to go look at our ledger board, does that look like it's 1/2 inch off the wall? I don't know. Didn't look like it to me. Let's just make this a little bit more pronounced. Offset from edge with depth, match room, connect room joist, ledger board. Offset from edge. Is that putting it into the wall further? No, that's off the edge. See that? See that gap? Right? Here's your, and so there's that other setting is connect rim joist to ledger board. They're calling that outside piece rim joist. So now it's connected to the ledger board and your whole ledger is offset off the building. And this would be the, and not only that, but I think there might even be an option to automatically fill that space that's cut out from the framing members. Count double single offset from edge, depth with construction match rim joist material. It doesn't seem to be filling right now, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to mess around with this. But this would be the case if we've got, you know, a spacer in between our siding, etc. This seems to be sunken into the wall, so you got to kind of figure out what you're outside. So I know I've got a 7/8 inch material out there, and then plus a 1/2 inch, 1.5 inch gap. I think is what's happening there. No, that's still not quite right. It must be to the main surface. So I got a 3/8 inch material on top of that. So you know, let's just call it really be plus another 3/8 or something. Don't make me do math. Something like that should get me, there we go, offset off the wall. Pretty cool. Pretty cool, Chief. Thank you. Us construction folk, pretty happy about that. Deck ledger offset. Choose to define the number of posts or newels in a railing rather than the spacing between the posts. And so if we know that we need 4 posts in this, then instead of max spacing, looks like you could do count. Count 4 posts. Bam. Boy, is that nice. That's really, really nice. Yeah. Cool. Yes. Mr. Pittman says that's really good for houses with brick. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Footing material. Control the material applied to footings on foundation walls. Just means that you get to apply that material separate from others, and then also that material in a vector-based view could have a different pattern fill. So that certainly is nice. 3D cladding. This is what a lot of you have been waiting for, which takes a couple new tools. I'm going to add these tools right now to my toolbar. So I'm going to go to Customize Toolbars, and I'm going to go to, what do we call it? 3D? Oops. Let me try that again. Customize Toolbars. I hit the Enter button. That was dumb. Just 3D cladding. I'm going to drag that right next to my interactive material editor. And then there is another tool similarly named. Which is, let's try cladding. Interactive cladding editor. I'm going to drag that right next to that. Okay. How do we use this? Click on this tool. Nope. Click on the other tool. So from the Adjust 3D cladding tool, I can click on this. I have not used this, so I will tell you I don't know all the crazy little nuanced details of how to use this. I know out of the box that this figured out, I think from the bump map, how this cladding should be. So if you have a bump map loaded into your material like I do, I think that's how it generated this. I'm not sure. I want you to notice that the height of this cladding is totally wrong. So if I'm going to match my height, it's going to be 8 inches. There we go. And then row overlap, I'm thinking is just this overlap section. So if I were to say 4, yeah, that changes that overlap, right? So let's just say, 3, for instance, that changes that overlap, right? Angle the rows, that's going to change some. Offset rows up, I'm going to set this to 0. I don't know why there was an offset. Maybe it's picking that up from the material itself. Vertical position above the polyline. So there is a polyline producing this. And the repeat distance, I don't know where it's picking that up from. Auto lap is checked. Here's the profile rotation. Angle rows. Oh, that actually pitches this up. Interesting. Boy, you can do some cool stuff with that feature. 0 inch, offset rows up, offset even rows in. I know that you can produce multi-part 3D moldings. You can use the 3D moldings tool to create 3D cladding. That gets more complex, like producing Spanish tiles shingles. Okay, you can do that with this. You can change the texture up direction in the case that the texture is not being produced right. Vary texture horizontal. When you click on this, it's going to move that texture around. It's not going to be a repeating pattern. So check this out. This is actually 3D. When you pull a cross-section view, this is now actually 3D. All right. The vary texture is, you can see here, the normal map that came with this original texture is moving, making it far more realistic. Okay. Not sure why it didn't pick up on this side, but that's okay. I think that we have kind of an eyedropper feature, maybe not. If we were to vary this texture vertically, it's going to screw some things up because the texture itself is loaded in here. So this is where you want to adjust this and pull, edit the material. And so in this case, for this plan material, I would want to get rid of the normal map that's creating. I would want to get rid of the normal map that's creating the stepping that's happening here and replace it with like a generic wood normal map. So I'm going to want to just find, wood and something that's just, see if I hold control and kind of zoom this in. Is that a wood texture? Wood mode, leather. I'm going to find a very generic wood texture that's seamless in order to utilize this. Wood grain. Let me just try this, except for that's not a normal map. You want a normal map if you're going to replace a normal map, so I might have to import something in this case. So maybe I'll clear this out. I'm going to instead go wood bump. Maybe it'll allow me to search wood bump. No. Just go wood. Here's wood grain. I'm going to load that in. We'll set this a little bit high so we can really see it. And so that changed the material. So you can see here, it's randomizing that wood bump material. And so I want to now change the material itself. And I might want to rotate this texture. And I might want to change this back down to like a 0.1. And now we're starting to get to look a little bit more realistic. Now that wood bump material is not the greatest one that I picked, but you can see here, you can get something to look very, very realistic with this method. That was a little too subtle. 0.01. There we go. That's just going to be really, really subtle. 0.06. All right. So, I mean, this is just a really cool feature. Let's give this a shot on the top piece here. I don't have much experience with this. There's other people on the beta team that have hours into this. I didn't do that. So, Crab's comp shingle. It's certainly hard to preview this. It looks like it's just doing row after row after row. I'm not sure what this will look like. Yeah, that, I mean, my shingle texture was already pretty good. But for argument's sake, let's just call this 1 inch. Oops. 1 inch height. Why not? See what that does. Yeah, boy, that's that makes that stand real high, right? Yeah. So it's gonna be some playing around here for sure. Yeah. Okay. What's really nice about this is, let's just take our backclip cross section. This is what you get to see now. That's what you get to see in your cross sections. I know you like that. I know you do. Look, there's that offset from the deck. Pretty cool, right? Here's my shingles with the trim there at the top. Very, very cool. This is getting to be a heck of a program. Okay, I'm going to try to burn through some more. We're really burning up the clock here. Center molding on polyline. Boy, I have wanted that for a really, really long time. Is versus extrude inside polyline, what have you. If I go look through my library browser for some type of molding, so types, moldings, and profiles, and then for instance, here's an 1.5-inch pipe, and I use the trim tool. Notice that the polyline edge is down here. So molding on selected edge. Maybe it's just an uncheck of that. Or horizontal position inside polyline. Center on polyline. And boy, I hope you can just save this back exactly as it is. If we, I don't think we can, but look at that. That's centered on the polyline. Now I'm just drawing this pipe right center on the polyline. Man, does that make me happy. Cool. Very cool. Create light set from selection. Hey, designers, are you not excited about that? You have to be excited about that. That is such a win. That's such a win. So you've got some lights here, and you want those lights turned on in the active light set. You get to just shift select these and do what with them? Hey, there's that new button, create edit light set from selection. This is my kitchen light set. So that if I have a bunch of other lights in my camera view and come back in here, and I want to make sure that only certain lights are turned on, wherever the heck that is. Boy, I don't even know what floor I'm on. Let's just edit the active view and say, hey, light set, kitchen light set, turn that sucker on. I want just that light set to be turned on. Let me see if I can pull a camera view that actually makes sense. Here we go. Cool. That just means that only that light set's turned on. And there we go. That's turned on. Very, very cool. We can see it because the off button is right there. If I select this one over here, that should be technically, well, I thought it was going to be turned off, but it doesn't seem to be. What's going on with that, Chief? Good at breaking things. We know this. We know this. Oh, I didn't change that light set. Let's see. There we go. Now, this should be turned off. It is. And this should be turned on. It is. Very cool. Love it. Kelvin temperature for lighting, really? Okay. So, designers, again, what happens here? You might be able to do it from the light. You might be able to do it from the light set. If we come into the light set and we group select some things, temperature and color. Where do we see setting Kelvin? There we go. Oh, they just preload some Kelvin in here. So you want, incandescent at 2700K, or, you're doing a pharmacy at 5000K. This should turn super white if we switch to a ray trace view. Okay. Try this again. Let's kick this down to something super yellow. Boy, I think they overdid that. Definitely overdid that. That is not what 2700 Kelvin looks like on the whole. Not quite. A little too orange. Okay, vector rendering technique for 3D reference display. Okay. So we're going to make I'm going to replace this. So let's see. I'm going to save this plan. And then I'm going to make a copy. Okay. And then we are going to reference that copy. Choose existing plan. Here's my copy. Sure. We're going to edit the offset of that. Slide this over here so we can see this building. Oh, geez. Boy, that wanted to move really far. Okay, slide this over. Sure. So we're referencing this now. And so what happens when we want vector view? Is that what's new? Vector rendering technique for 3D reference display. So there would be the vector rendering technique. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Okay. If you didn't know this, by the way, you can always come in here and change this to standard. And even though it says standard, it technically is doing physically based. Right? So this is how you can do large lot developments and still render them out very nicely. Technical illustration line style. Control the display of the line style and color in technical illustrations using individual layer and object properties. Technical illustration, form line style. Use layer, line, width, etc. Huh. I'll have to play with this. We'll get back to that one. Let's see, what do we have in the comments? Call out in the new designation. I'm not sure what that's referring to. Oh, standing seam. Yeah. What is the Great Pyramid of Okay. Yeah, gotcha. That's from my roof edit. Yeah. Very nice. Spent 3 hours doing this light by light. What were you doing light by light? Changing the light color? VR still sucks. They did nothing with VR. I guess I'm sticking with exporting to Twin Motion. In terms of just walking through this in VR. Yeah, okay. I've never gotten a client that wanted to see it in VR anyways. It's just too much. It's too much. They almost feel maybe I haven't figured out a way to present it in a way that seems fun, but they always kind of seem like it's just a really big gimmick and they don't really want to see it and it seems like a hassle. So I kind of abandoned that a while ago. What I do is I do Kula tours where you can do like a point-to-point spherical thing, much like Matterport does. Gradient fill styles are pretty interesting. So this just means, for instance, I can open this room up, fill style, and how do we do this? I don't see gradient. Gradient is here. There we go. So there you go. What's nice about this is, you can build some kind of cool wall elevations with this, especially because we know layer-based fill styles. So I need to change my wall cabinets and my base cabinets fill style. Remember, use layer, right? So same thing, base cabinet, change this, fill style, use layer. Okay. From there, now that we know what layer these are on, we could cabinet base, use a gradient fill. It will not, what will it not do? It will not allow us to do transparency here. So that's kind of the only problem with that. But for instance, if I were to pull this view and do that gradient fill, what does this look like? Nothing. So we're seeing the toe kick, etc. I don't think fill styles applied here. That's right. The material is driving the fill style here. So, and patterns do not have gradient fill. Okay, so we don't have gradient fill in your pattern panel for materials. So you're not going to get gradients in a vector view like this, but you can in a top-down view. What I do like about this is, especially if you have my landscaping tools, my full library is a lot of these. Do this real Landscaping tools, bushes, shrubs, etc. This might be, sure, we'll just do this arboli. We throw this in there. You know, sure, that looks nice, but would look even nicer than that is that gradient, right? And so you could do linear or radial. So radial would make a lot of sense in this case. And I'm going to pick up some kind of green color like that. And I'm going to pick up some kind of green. It's darker. That, right? So what does that look like? It's starting to look like some of the more popular softwares out there that do landscape design, for instance. So that looks really nice. This would look really, really good with the whole grouping of these. Override dimension snapping. You are going to be happy with this. You're going to be happy with this. Designers, you're going to be happy with this. Check this out. For instance, let's say, for argument's sake, you know, when I use my manual dimension tool, my default manual dimension tool does not pick up cabinets. Okay, see me drawing through this? Doesn't pick up cabinets. All right. What if instead I wanted to pick up cabinets? I'm going to turn this on and locate manual. I'm going to turn on cabinets. Now as I draw this out, bam, we're picking up cabinets. That's clear, right? Watch as I draw this out. I'm going to hold the S key. Typically, S key stops picking up snaps. Look at the preview of what's happening. You see that highlight color? That's straight from my colors in the software. It's producing a highlight. When I let go of the S, there we go. It's going to continue to pick up. What did I do? I bypassed those cabinets. Okay, let me show you this again. I'm going to draw this through. I'm going to hold the S key. Now I'm going to let go of it. Look what it does. Picks up that next cabinet. So as you're drawing things, you don't want to pick up some extra stuff as you're moving through with your manual dimension tool. You can just temporarily toggle that you're not going to pick up anything between, you know, when you're pressing that button, that modifier key, and not. Yeah, make sure that you don't have the S key bound to a hotkey. If you do, go ahead and bind that to something else, because that's going to be a function that you're going to really like. Justin, Design Build, link how to get on beta just for as-built app and or when the app will release. You know, there's some information about that on Chief Talk. I know that. Otherwise, I'd say give them a call. There's a specific email that you got to email to get on that beta team. And then how about getting the batten part of board-and-batten to look more realistic? Yeah, absolutely. So I already have a realistic looking batten. And that's just because I'm using a texture trick. So let me just draw this out real fast, and we'll just pull a little 3D view so we could see this. Now that's my little batten trick that currently works in X17. Now let's instead just generate batten from this. And so it's doing it. It's picking up that this is some kind of a batten. It's picking up that there's a layer behind and a layer in front. And let's just say it's a 2-inch width there. Look at that. Isn't that cool? All right, what's this end up looking like? Ends up looking like something that I have to paint a new color is what this is. I'm just going to paint this matte white for now. So there we go. Big old battens. Simple, easy. All right, throw one down here, it'll cut. Look at that. Okay, note, auto numbering formats. Choose, oh man, this is a big one for me. I've had to write scripts to produce this for me, and they're difficult scripts to write at times. And so auto numbering formats, I'm going to show you what this means. I have a braced wall panel tool that I use in my framing floor plan view. And so I'll place this, let's see, Sure. And so there's my brace wall panel tool. Let me go find the schedule for this. Here's the schedule for this. Oh, it looks like a bunch of things are not going to execute correctly. This is something that Chief Architect broke for me. That's okay. So what do we have here? I produced something that generated this A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay. That's from a macro driven thing. But now you don't have to do that. You don't have to create this really custom macro driven thing that creates letters instead of numbers. For example, let's just throw a window in this thing. I'm going to show windows for now. Open that schedule up. We can see that the schedule number is window 01. If I open this, instead of numbers, I'm going to choose that these are uppercase letters. You still need to specify what it starts on. One would be A in this case. I don't know if you put A that still works. No, it does not. So you'd still need to figure out what letter of the alphabet this is if you wanted to start at some other part of this. But I can just get rid of this W if I wanted to and press OK. And there we go. That's window A. There's window B. So if you're on my setup, you're going to see that, you know, this macro is not set up correctly to parse that information because it's got some kind of conditional logic in there. But if I were to go pull this elevation view, it should say, there you go. There's a window B instead of window 2. Really cool. Font subfamily report, we did that in the very beginning of this video. Share label attributes between objects. Use style palettes and the object painter to propagate label. Oh yes, this is one that I really push very, very hard for. Chief, I appreciate you. I thank you for listening to my suggestions. This is one I needed. I needed this. This was a big, cumbersome thing for me, and now we have it. So we can apply labels using object properties or using style palettes. We could not before. So that's just a huge time saver if someone wants to import an old template into my templates that they purchased. They needed to, in order to be able to use all the really cool tricks and things that happen in labels in my templates, you needed to be able to apply those defaults that I have in my template, and there was no way to do it. So that just handled that issue. So that's really big for me. So thanks, Chief. That just means that if you've got a macro script inside of a label and you're trying to edit area in some old template into your new template and you want to execute that script in the label, it just means that you can do that very easily by creating a style palette that grabs all your custom fields as well as the label specification. So if we were to go look at my plan transfer tool, and this is one of the first things I fixed once I saw that they did this, is that for all of these different things, wall cabinets, etc., there's just a new field here that is label. Label alignment and label layer. Those are both new. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. I can't scroll anymore, so we're not going to be able to see the preview of. We're at the bottom of the page, so I'm going to have to drag the bottom of the PDF up here. Let's see if I can do that. Bottom of the PDF goes right there. Okay. Room labels. Control room labels for rooms, much like other typical object labels. Control their display in a 3D view. Define their location and offset control. Specify macros. We just have a ton of new things we can do with room labels. And I'd suggest you go watch the beginning of this video where I showcase how I'm utilizing those, because I don't think I ever have to move a room label ever again. It's just going to be automatic for me. So that part is just really, really nice for me, because this will just automatically move as the room gets shrunken in and moved around. As I split this again, split this some more. It's just doing everything I need it to do automatically and displaying the way I need it to display automatically. mean, that's just so dynamic and awesome. I spend a lot of time moving these things around, and that's just a huge time saver. Very cool. Default room fill. I didn't know that we could get that in room types, so let's just confirm this. Floors and rooms, room types. You're gonna see all my room types. For instance, Chase, it would be nice if I could set the default fill for, yes, you can. Look at this. This is really cool. So for instance, if we did an angled hatch or an angled grid at like, let's go 6x6 angled grid. Let's do a custom color black. Okay. And so there's my Chaseway room type. So if I changed this to that Chase, look at that. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Let's see, Designers Inc. Without the cloud functionality to be able to share things with coworkers without all the export import is really a fail for this update. I really encourage people to go watch the video that I produced today, because it couldn't be easier to share on the cloud. It really couldn't. And I'm going to show you just how great it is with X18. I'm going to save this file right now. Okay, and we're going to shut it down. Project browser, shut it down. Here's the file I just saved. I'm going to export this file. I'm going to export everything that's in it. Here's my example. Okay, I'm going to put this just in my downloads folder. Example X18. Why not? All right. That will export that with all of its assets, with all of its pre-linked views, everything that I need. It's going to export that into my Dropbox folder where I can utilize it, open it up on another machine, or share it with someone else. Okay, there we go. It exported. I could easily click on delete. We know in X18 this is so much faster. There it goes. It's gone. Now I'm on another machine, or I've got another team member. They have now accessed this through Dropbox. They double click this file to be opened. Oops, not in X17, which is going to fail. Hold on, let me get back to that. Let's try this again. Open with X18. We know X18 is a lot faster. It's going to extract these files. But this is just, this is my coworker, or this is my other machine. This was shared on Dropbox. That's how I accessed it. So doing a little bit of texture asset processing. So maybe X18 has some kind of purge function that I don't know about. That's adding those missing assets somehow. But there we go. Simple as that. We're back up and running. I mean, that took less than 2 minutes. So I don't know that I need that cloud service. My existing cloud works just fine. And sharing it is really that easy. That's how easy it was. I can do it again. Really easy to just hit export. And still this same function exists, export and delete. Same thing. I'm just going to overwrite this. So just say no to this. And 17 wants to break here. But go back to X18. There's that export process. I'm looking at the clock. I mean, I don't think this takes more than 15 seconds. When I press OK, that'll be gone. There we go. Bring it back in this width. It must be doing some kind of purge asset if it's extracting files every time. Or there's going to be duplicate files. I'm not sure. We'll look at it. Yeah, but I looked at it at the 45-second mark, so we're at 30 seconds. Yeah, I mean, that's under a minute. Under a minute, and that means exporting it from one machine, letting your cloud service load it up, importing it into a new machine. and you have all the assets and you have all the pre-linked layouts. And when I go open up one of these layouts, it's going to already have, you know, my drawing started. And that's that building I was just working on. Cool. Let's see, room schedule previews. Oh, that's cool. Let's just select this room and open some schedules from this, and I'll just utilize something I've already got here, and we'll just do room schedule previews. Display the outline of a room's perimeter. What are they calling it? It's not 2D symbol. Perimeter. Move it up. See what this looks like. And I'll just undo group similar objects. And I don't see a perimeter field showing up here. Huh. Maybe I need to display column headings. We're doing that. Perimeter. Oh, perimeter is just the size. So what is this? Display the outline of a room's perimeter and fill using the 2D symbol. Okay, so 2D symbol is what I needed. Oops, sorry. I didn't read. There we go. So if we were to go in here and out another room. Yeah. All right. I like that. Would be some use cases for that. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to work on how I would want to display that information. But I do like that. Similar to how we had, you know, the countertop shapes. Restrict schedules to floor level. Choose to report items and schedules based on selected floor levels. So I think that we can do a couple things here where we couldn't do this before, and where, you know, instead of just first floor and second floor, we can skip a floor. We could not do that before. We could just choose one floor, I think. I think it's the way that happened before. Someone's got to confirm that for me, but I think that you always had to have either all 3 floors or just 1 floor, and now you can choose just singularly, you know, multiple single floors to have in your schedules. Cabinet hardware and schedules. Designers, I know you love that one. Yeah. 2D schedule previews. Include 2D previews for cabinets, architectural blocks, and doors and windows when the column is added to your schedule. So we're going to go open up this window. Open this up. 2D symbol. And look at that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, like that. Schedule fraction style. Specify fraction formatting and scale in schedules, including diagonal and stacked. So before you couldn't match your dimension default fraction style. Now you can. So that part's nice. Let's just try this out. We can see that this is showing 41.25 with that diagonal slashing. So how do we do that? Number formatting, fraction style, horizontal, diagonal. Did that change anything? No, because these are macro scripts I'm doing. So it must be maybe in something that's producing just a number. Didn't seem to be affecting what's output here at all. This is vertical fraction textures. Did anything change? No, I don't think so. So it's not affecting things that are macro driven. Okay. Overlapping wall hatch. Add multiple wall hatch segments to a wall and choose whether they overlap while controlling the draw order. think they're talking about the hatch tool. Maybe? Overlap wall hatch. Add multiple wall hatch segments to a wall. Okay, so for instance, there's another wall hatch segment. And if I were to go make this no background, interesting. So you get this kind of crisscross effect thing. I wonder what a use case would be for that. Interesting. Okay. Call out fill. That's pretty straightforward. No border call out. Create a call out with no outline shape. Let's try this. What do you mean no outline shape? No outline shape. Okay. I think I could think of some reasons why I would like that. For one, I mean, you could kind of do that before just by changing the line style to a blank line style. So we already kind of had that. But what's nice about callouts is they can link to things. So you can get information from a callout just by linking it to something. So if you've just got a shapeless bit of text, then maybe that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Sure. And then story pole dimension defaults. And then that's it. We're done. Create save defaults for story pole dimensions to ensure your preferred format is applied consistently. I'm not sure why that's different. Let's see, double click here. So before story pole, yeah, story pole generally speaking comes from your defaults in default settings under dimension, auto story pole dimensions. So there's a default. I'm not sure what's different about that. I'd have to dig into it. Yeah. Yeah. That's a heck of a lot of stuff, guys. That's a heck of a lot of stuff. Like I said, if I got nothing else but just a faster program, I would have been happy. So I'm real happy. I can tell you right now, the cost of SSA paid for itself in just how fast this program opens, shuts down, exports, and deletes. I can't wait to start using it. That right there will recoup the losses that I experienced this year for how long the program took to do those things. And I mean, just hands down, that one right there is really going to speed me up. I think that the cladding tool is very cool. I don't necessarily think it's making me more money. So still cool though. Those room label things, definitely making me more money. That's a huge one for me. I mean, really, I'm just ecstatic about the speed of the program. It's really just huge, just huge. The layer-based fill styles gonna save me some serious time. It's gonna make my drawings look better, just automatically. So that's really cool. And then the other huge money-making thing for me is those custom fields that we get for project designer client. Add your own field, add all your own fields. You know, drive your whole system from here, drive all your annotations from here, create global annotations that you use over and over again. Just to give you another example of this, just in case you wanted to have one, is let's just go chevron tile annotation, right? Add another field, subway tile annotation, right? And then It could be chevron tile annotation center. All right. So chevron tile C spec book, you know, and then it's just easy to just drop these annotations straight into all your views. Or maybe another way of, you know, doing this is, you know, bath 1 tile annotation, and then establish some views where you have annotations already dropped in there, and it's just going to be driven by that system by just going back in there and edit what the text says. So you've got one place that you can edit all of your text for the whole project, and that means that your elevations could potentially be pre-annotated. That's just a huge one if you figure out how to utilize that in a great way. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm excited to start producing some videos finally and show you some new features and show you how I'm going to utilize them. You know, this was just kind of a breeze through thing, but once I start digging in, it'll be really nice to start doing some new videos. So excited for this. What do you guys have in the comments here? Architect, thank you for being in here. Story poll defaults. That's a good question. I'll bring that up. Yeah, look how X17 loads so much slower. Should show you how long it takes me to delete a project. It's just crazy. It drives me nuts. Yeah, just this click rate here, just me drawing those 4 walls right there versus oh, that looked about the same actually. I swear it's faster though. All right, let me get back to this. So story poll defaults. Yeah, we did not have a list of different story poll defaults. Yeah, so that's new. As I start using this, we'll also find just a lot of the unlisted fixes they have. And that's always a fun discovery as well. I'm going to show you this. Let me just shut this down real quick. I'm just going to show you, I'm going to make a copy of this project. Okay. And I'm going to delete this project. And this is what I deal with every day. Because I do training. And so I'm constantly bringing in new projects and deleting. Not only that, but your project browser, if you're doing backups, you got to back up everything that's in here, including all the texture files that are with this, right? So I like to export my stuff after the day's done. I export it, delete it, walk away. Great. Look how long this is taking to delete it. It's just torture. We should have put a timer on it. There you go. Finally, it's done. Now, you know, I'm gonna get rid of this one. We'll just shut down all the views. I mean, even shutting down those views is super fast. Super fast. And now let's delete this project. Ding! Done! Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. If you work with me, you gotta go download X18 right now. That's what we're doing from now on. Jeff, you know who you are. Let's hang out. Let's work together and make some money. I appreciate you guys sticking in here. Boy, if you stuck around for the last 3 hours, that must mean you're as excited as I am. I'm really excited to keep doing this. So, yeah. Thanks for joining. Thank you. And you know, if I've never said it before, This community makes everything that I do happen. I'm so appreciative to be in this position. I'm so appreciative that people seem to be okay with me doing what I'm doing. People seem to be okay with our Facebook groups and me, having my name on some of this stuff. I feel so blessed to feel like you guys support this creative endeavor and this work endeavor. So glad that you guys are here and that you are a really positive group. You're really a positive group. I tell you what, I make videos sometimes for the Twinmotion crowd, and it's crazy the comments that come in, super disrespectful and stuff like that. This is such a cool professional group, and I tell you, I make a couple of trips a year where I go really reflect on the things that I'm doing and how I got here and where I'm at, and I can't tell you how much it means to me to have this community. So thanks everybody, and looking forward to more to come. Let's go make some money.